of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now call the meeting to order. All right, and moving on to the first order of business. Public announcements, and details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. MSAD 49 Annual School Budget Meeting will be held at Lawrence Junior High on Monday, May 16th.
You're not on the correct agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the, no, you're absolutely right. I was reading the minutes. That's all right. It's been one of those days. All right, I'm sorry. Okay. Members of the public are encouraged to participate electronically. Below is an invitation information for any members to the public that wish to join us on Wednesday virtually. Dial or log in at time 6:15 Eastern Time, U.S. and Canada. Pre-registration to join Zoom meeting is http://crossroads-tv.com/zoomreg.html. All right. First order of business is the public announcements. And again, details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. First one is the state's primary municipal and MSAD school budget elections will be held at the community center on June 14th, 2022. Polls are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and absentee voting ends on June 9th. Number two, the Fairfield Memorial Day Parade has been canceled by the VFW due to lack of available participants and band. The Fairfield VFW will still host cemetery services and a public luncheon on Monday, May 30th. Second order of business is public hearings, and there are none today. Third order of business is public comments. That is limited to a 3-minute equivalent to public speaking. Members of the public may email comments for the council at info@fairfieldme.com by 4 p.m. the day of the meeting on any topic or agenda item. And items may be read aloud at this time. Manager, would you like to give a little bit more explanation to that, please?
Certainly. We recently had some confusion regarding this process. If folks email either the town council directly, myself, or the town clerk directly, or they email us at info@fairfieldme.com, and they want their comments to be shared during this portion of your meeting, they really should indicate that within the body of their email at some point. We receive questions and complaints all day, every day. So to think that an email that's just generically sent for information from the municipality was expected to be read at your meeting is not something that we think of. So folks really need to be clear that if they want this shared with the council or the community, what have you, during this public comment section, that it's very clear when they submit that emailed information. And we did receive something just this evening prior to your meeting.
Oh, okay.
If you'd like me to read that.
Yes, please.
This is from Maxwell Kinney. He submitted this evening. It states that I would like to thank the Fairfield officials for sharing the letter from DEP's commissioner to Senator Collins' office seeking federal support for the proposed drinking water expansion in Fairfield. I am encouraged to see the support, but very concerned by the blatant statement that DEP does not anticipate having funding to support the current in-home filtration systems many residents like myself have and rely on long-term. This statement, along with previous statements that indicated DEP will not provide filtration systems for any new homes constructed in Fairfield that are found to have PFAS contamination, makes me extremely worried about the town's economic future moving forward, as well as my ability to live in my home located on land owned by my family for generations. Lastly, I'm hoping the town can confirm that the proposed project's cost estimates completed by Dirigo Engineering includes the cost of the full water service line from the road to the home, as well as modifications to the internal plumbing that may be necessary. So we have emailed a response back to Mr. Kinney regarding his question on Dirigo Engineering's report. And within the report, under the estimates, it does include the cost of service installations from the road to the home, as well as the meter installation that would be required internally. If you are looking at the phase summary, so the first 3 pages of the breakdown is a phase 1 summary, phase 2 summary, phase 3 summary. That number is not included in that. You have to go to the detail for each individual road in which they counted the number of residences, and that cost is there for that private installation, and then there's a separate unit cost for the meter installation. So that is included within our projected cost for the project. And that report also is still available on our website. We still have on our main page for under the Town of Fairfield's website, on the very first page under public notices, there is the section for PFAS and all of the related PFAS information that we have collected over the course of the last 18 plus months. So that is all still there.
Okay, very good. All right, moving on then to the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Pastor Roy may wish to reserve the right to speak on workshop item number 1.
Hold it.
Would you like to reserve the right to speak on workshop item number 1?
I thought I was on the set of orders.
Yes, it's the workshop. You would just like to come up to the podium and...
She said.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to put that on the record.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, moving on to the fourth order of business, reports from staff and committees, town managers report.
All right, so more PFAS things. On May 17th, I had a video conference with Captain Tara Summers. She is an RN and the regional director for the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, called ATSDR, through the Center of Disease Control and Prevention with the federal government. She wanted to discuss some work that ATSDR will be starting in Fairfield area due to a petition they received from a resident. They will be doing, their organization is a little unique as a federal agency because members of the public are able to petition them for work that they would like to see done within their communities. So they did receive a petition from a resident here in town, and they will be conducting an in-depth evaluation of potential health effects from exposure to PFAS in their environment. They have already started their conversations with the CDC and the DEP in collecting their information and data points that they have already started to generate. So they were just kind of giving us a heads up to let us know that they will be in the area. The process is expected to take most of the summer for them to do their data compilation. They believe there'll probably be some public hearings later towards the fall and the winter, which I have offered the community center for them to be able to hold those at. And then they'll just keep us updated on their progress, and there'll be an official report that will come out. Also on the 17th, I attended a KV-COG Board of Directors meeting. They are still looking for a new executive director. So if you know anybody who has great interest in economic development, please send them their way. And then also that afternoon and evening, I attended some meetings with a potential new buyer at First Park. So we're hoping to potentially have a deal by the end of the month. So that could also be exciting. May 18th, I did attend the business after hours that was held at the Maine State Credit Union. The 23rd, which this past Monday, we started meeting with the fire department union regarding negotiations. The 24th, yesterday, we met with the police department's union regarding negotiations. And then this morning, myself and other members of the staff, this was instigated by a staff meeting of ideas that we all had regarding the issues that we're having with various teens in our community. So myself and staff members attended a meeting with representatives from the Career Center. We are working on putting together a job fair for teens. We are hoping to provide not only opportunities regarding work, but also volunteer and educational opportunities, looking at things with various different, are there youth programs through the churches? Are there organizations like the Food Bank or maybe the Grange that could use students to volunteer at? And we have a tentative date scheduled for the 21st. We are holding it at Memorial Park with rain location to be the community center. It's a quick turnaround to try to do this. However, there are various number of employers looking for seasonal help, that in which folks between the ages of 16 and 18 could easily do, and this would be a prime opportunity to do it. So we were hoping to catch them just as soon as school got out, but before everybody starts taking off for various vacations in July. So there'll be more details to come on that as well, but we're working towards something.
Date and time again?
It's June 21st. The time has not been confirmed yet, what the time range will be. We've already been in touch with various, JMG coordinators for the region. They had one a couple of months ago. So I have a meeting set up with them next week. They have a wealth of contacts where they'll bring in folks like from McDonald's and Burger King and the various different hotels that are looking, for chambermaids and laundry and janitorial, and as well as anything else that's out there. So the end goal of all of this is really to try to make sure the youth in our area know that not only are there job opportunities, but there are educational opportunities and things to look forward to in their future, and trying to make sure that we're just re-stressing those potential outlooks for them. So trying to make that connection. And then lastly, the town clerk and I both have received several questions over the past few weeks regarding the June 14th election, not only function questions regarding process for voting and the election and how that all works, but also about the article itself and some clarifying pieces. So none of these were questions that came in specifically for the town council. They were direct, sometimes just one-on-one conversations. And what we would like to do is to reserve some space at the end when you get to other business to both of us touch on those two various different topics, because we feel that they're important for everyone to hear about.
Yep,
So,
no problem.
and that's it for me.
Okay. Committee reports.
There are none from the Economic Committee. We're meeting the first Tuesday of the month, which is June 7th at 3:30 right here, and the public is invited.
Any other committees? No. All right, then we'll move to the fifth order of business, which is the consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussions on these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. Item 2253, ordered that the town council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting 2022-08 held on May 11th, 2022. And item 2253, ordered that the town council hereby approves the treasurer's warrant number 69 general fund in the amount of $171,686.35. This is limited to, but including health insurance, CMP, motor vehicle, Summit Natural Gas, MSAD 49 Fuel, TriTech, and Kennebec Water District.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carries full. Sixth order of business, to take action on the following items as read by Council Chair. Item 22-54, ordered that the Town Council hereby approves the resolution of support for the Northern Border Regional Commission grant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? I think everybody has a copy of it in their minutes. Yes.
First of all, I
Michelle.
want to apologize for you getting this late. But there was some confusion as to exactly what this resolution needed to do. So this is a specific requirement of the application process. And ultimately, all this is doing is giving permission to myself and/or Garvin at the Central Maine Growth Council to actually file the application. So we have already submitted a letter of intent, which the Growth Council did a majority of that work on, and then we have received a letter saying that it's okay for us to apply. So, because you have to be invited to apply. So this is all that this does, is just says that it's okay for us to file that paperwork, which is required to be filed by June 3rd.
Okay, very good. No other? All in favor?
Was there a motion?
Carries full.
There
Yeah, there
was.
was a motion. All right, item 2255. Order that the town council hereby elects the town manager to serve on MMA's Legislative Policy Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Is it okay with the town manager?
Is it okay? Yeah.
It's okay. I had a brief hiatus with it, at the tail end of the last session, and it was pretty exciting, actually. There was a lot of activity because there were so many bills that they were trying to get in at the tail end of this emergency session, so
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's kind of neat.
All right, all in favor? Carries full.
Wish you well.
Yeah.
Item 2256, order that the town council hereby appoints one municipal officer and the town manager as representatives to KV-COG.
That's supposed to be me. Oh, so moved. Right.
I would just note, Stephanie Thibodeau is the current person who's terming out.
Okay.
You have to decide who you would like to appoint amongst yourselves and include that in the motion.
I
You
think she
still
was.
want to do it?
I've never been to a meeting because Michelle's there anyway, so it's just,
But if I'm not.
but if
you
I'm
have the
not,
ability
she'd
to go.
call. So,
You want to maintain it?
well, my term is up in
Right.
December, so,
June 30.
excuse me, June 30th. Yeah. I will do it until my term expires in December, and if I don't get reelected.
Well, yeah, then we'd have to reappoint somebody. anyway.
Right, right.
Okay.
So, but I'll,
Then part of the motion, you need to make the motion that, on this situation, that appoints Stephanie Thibodeau, municipal officer, and the town manager as representatives to KV-COG.
right. Friendly amendment then,
Friendly amendment.
and I made the motion.
You can, I was going to say you can withdraw if you like, or,
I would like to withdraw.
yeah, that's fine.
Then I'll make the motion that we appoint Stephanie Thibodeau and the town manager as representatives to KV-COG. I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor? Carries full.
Abstain.
And one abstention.
One abstain. 2257, order that the town council hereby considers an appointment to the Kennebec Sanitary Treatment District Trustee Board for a 3-year term to expire on June 30th, 2025. Is there anybody on
We
the
don't have
council?
any.
I was like, we don't have an appointment application, but Jack Stanley Jr. is the current member whose term expired, and he has expressed an interest in returning, so.
Oh,
I
okay.
was just noticing that. He is currently actually the vice chair or vice president of the board for the sanitary treatment district, so.
Then I would look for a motion to, the motion to consider appointment of Jack Stanley.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carries full. All right, item 2258. Order that the town council hereby signs a quit claim deed for Michelle M. Fry for property located at 13 Kingman Road, map 03A, lot 17-006.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, what, any discussion on this at all?
That's to clear up sewer liens.
I'm sorry?
To clear up sewer liens.
Okay.
All right. All in favor? Carries full. All right, now we'll move to the 7th order of business, which is council workshop and other business. First on that agenda is discuss the food pantry request for business sign. You may step up, sir. And we have a,
Similar to what I had given you before. Change a couple of words.
okay. Same.
Greetings, Fairfield council members and constituents. Thank you for giving me a moment to address you address to you about the Fairfield Interfaith Food Pantry. Again, my name is Reverend Peter Roy. I pastor the Fairfield Church of the Nazarene on 81 Main Street here in Fairfield. I've been here for a little bit over a year. As a pastor of the Fairfield Church of the Nazarene, I am a board member of the Interfaith Food Pantry. I am here again to ask for your support for a sign for the pantry. Your Fairfield pantry sits approximately 250 feet from the road, and many of our citizens who need the pantry do not know where the pantry is located. On May 11th, I stood in front of the Fairfield Post Office for 90 minutes and asked people who came out of the post office if they knew where the Fairfield Interfaith Food Pantry was located. Out of the 28 people asked, 11 knew where it was and 17 did not. I was standing with my back to the food pantry, and those being asked where the food pantry was located were looking right at the building. The citizens of Fairfield continue to support the pantry with their tax dollars, and it is our hope that the sign by the road would greatly increase the value of that support, letting more people in Fairfield know about the pantry. According to Susan Merriman at the Maine Department of Transportation, the sign needs to be 33 feet from the center of the road, which would put it at the edge of the parking lot. See picture 1. And you can see where the arrow is. That is the end of the right-of-way. That puts the right-of-way at the end of the retaining wall. We would ask that you would support a sign in the parking lot as you see in picture 2. The placement of the sign is the spot, in this spot would not affect the use of the handicap parking space, since the sign would be next to the back retaining wall. State law also says that the business sign needs to be on the business property. The property at the edge of the parking lot belongs to the town, and the Interfaith Food Pantry pays a lease of $1 per year to the town for our space. Since the town owns the property that the pantry is on, then it would stand to reason that the space at the edge of the parking lot that is owned by the town could be used for a standalone sign for the food pantry. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have. The sign that you're seeing is just a rendition. It mimics the sign that you have at the intersection, the blue sign with the plastic. It's like 3/4 of an inch thick. The sign specs, the picture's not to specs, but the sign done by Davis Vinyl in Benton is approximately 3 feet by 5 feet. We hope to have the signage large enough so that people, when they come across from Benton or at that intersection, can see that it says Fairfield Interfaith Food Pantry. Not so concerned about the fact that it would be 23 Lawrence Avenue, but just that it would have that with an arrow pointing to it. Yes?
So would it be up on the retaining wall?
No, sir.
Okay.
No.
So people coming down Lawrence Ave from the library couldn't see it from there?
Correct. Yeah. The only way to get that done, it would be to move it to beyond the white fence that Hammond Lumber has, and that would be within the right-of-way, because the right-of-way ends at the back or at the edge of that retaining wall. If you're looking at the picture, to the right of that sign.
There's no signage on the building.
There is signage on the building. If you look at the first slide, you can see that's the signage on the building.
That's when you pull into the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's once, so that beyond that, then you want
That's it.
the sign. So I'm wondering, who's paying for it, number one?
Food pantry.
Food pantry's paying for it.
Yes.
Number two, is there any other need for signage for the downtown area at this time? We've got some
That I can't answer.
parking. I mean, if we're going to put a sign up, should it be inclusive or just?
Well, this would be specifically to the entrance to the food pantry, so.
Yes.
One, I do have some feedback. So we
Yes.
went back and we submitted this to the code enforcement officer and the public works director.
Yes.
Not so worried about the code enforcement side of things. Yeah, there's some minimal things that would have to be done for permitting, that kind of stuff. Public Works is what I was mainly worried about because of snow removal. And I can assure you, his very first thing was, we will destroy this within the first season. Based upon its location, because of how they have to remove snow from that corner, because it is close to the handicap accessibility spot.
Okay.
So we kind of tossed around the idea of, well, what if it was up above? What if it was above the wall?
Who
So it's-
owns that, though?
It's on. So that's the question we kind of had at the time, and I truthfully have not had an opportunity to follow back up on that. Whether our property line is at the wall,
Right.
or if the property line is where the fence is.
Yeah.
And it's in there somewhere.
Sure.
But it could be one of those things where it's close enough, as long as Hammond was agreeable and we were agreeable, it'd be fine. I believe, based upon your rendition you have there, you're talking about putting this on posts, correct?
Yes.
Because of that white block, just, I
Yeah.
figured that was just the art which we had to work with, but yes, you're planting posts.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that you've used the blue and white color scheme, similar to the color scheme we have in our signage that is throughout the community, so it does lend itself well to that. But its current location as depicted is believed that it will be ultimately a waste of the food pantry's money, because it would, if it's not the first year to be guaranteed the next
Certainly.
year, it would get destroyed during snow removal process. But if we could get it up higher, then maybe that would be a
And
possibility.
I've talked to the manager at Hammond Lumber, and he doesn't care if it's in front of their fencing. That would be fine. The issue is the state law is that it has to be on the business property.
Right.
So it depends on who
And that's
owns
why
that.
I think what will end up happening is that it'll ultimately be right on.
Right on the line, yeah.
Yeah, which nobody recommends because of maintenance needs, right? You don't want to put something on the line if you have to maintain the back, but
It wouldn't be
because of the current
higher.
situation.
Yeah, it would not be higher than I don't think it needs to be higher than the white fencing that Hammond Lumber has. So the maintenance is minimal, and instead of the pressure-treated 4x4s that you would see, we would probably encase that in, just like the white fence that Hammond Lumber has, and just encase that, so that would protect it. So the maintenance would be minimal.
Right.
And then the open sign, that's just Velcroed to that cross member, so that when it's open, you see an open sign. When it's not open, you just take that off and be done with it.
Have you looked at putting signage or lettering on the Main Street facing side of the building?
Oh, yeah, that's in the works. We have 2 quotes for that, and the signage would be up high enough. It would be basically under the eaves, so you'd have Fairfield Interfaith below the eaves, above the window, and then between one set of windows, food, between the other set of windows, pantry, and there would be 24-inch letters for Fairfield Interfaith, and then I think 18-inch food pantry. So, yeah, we have quotes for that. I'm just waiting for the next meeting for the pantry to approve it, which will help, but
Well,
nobody knows how to get there can't get there from here.
we know because of the fact that, I know because of the fact that I work at the town office on days in which it is pantry day. And I know that that parking lot is full all the time, and believe that those that want to find you know how to find you, but I can understand that if the food bank feels that they're not present enough to be able to do something else.
I know Davis Vinyl, I asked them to come and look and give us suggestions as to where we could put a sign and all that, so that they could bid for this. He went past it 3 times using his GPS, couldn't find it, and he's been in Benton across the road, less than a mile and a half from the food pantry
Right.
for years. Didn't know where it was. So that's the issue, is those that don't know where it was or know that we even have a food pantry. This, having a sign that size and with the lettering that large, when people come to the intersection and they look up the hill, they would see food pantry. And then they would know, and they might not need it, but a neighbor might need it, or somebody in their church or synagogue or wherever may need that. Yes, ma'am.
When I look at this picture here, I see some green space to the right of the cement wall.
Yes, ma'am.
Who owns that?
That's in the right-of-way.
And that,
That's
and it's
considered
not
right
green
away?
space.
There's a small space that, there is a small space that the sign could fit there. The nice thing is that you have a one-way in and a one-way out. So when you go out and you look up the street, up Lawrence Ave,
Oh, so
it wouldn't block anything. It wouldn't block people, you would be able to see people coming. It wouldn't block anybody's view. If you had that, where you come in and you went out that way, that might be an issue, but going down far enough on the other side of the town office, it wouldn't block it. The sign could go there, however, according to Susan at the Maine Department of Transportation, the town council would have to approve it, and then we would have to go to the state for licensing of the sign, similar to what you all had to do for your town sign at the intersection. So, and I don't know how many hoops beyond that we would have to jump through.
So you're talking about just one of those marker signs that tell you how many miles to a building?
No, we're talking this sign here. This sign here could fit in the right-of-way, which is on the other side, and it would go right up against the retaining wall, but in that quote-unquote green space. It could fit there, but that's within the right-of-way, so that has to be licensed by the state and approved by the town council. But first step is getting approval, whether it's where it's at pictured or in that quote-unquote green space.
So I'm thinking outside the box, and I'm wondering if that sign has to be that big because of signage on the building on two walls now. And it would, to me, it would be less expensive in case of plowing damages, et cetera, if it could go on that section where the walls are. But
Yeah.
if it were smaller,
As Michelle mentioned, if it goes up between the retaining wall and the fence for Hammond lumber, then that's protected by, there's no potential for plow damage unless they try to take out the retaining wall. And that's a possibility, depending on if the town council approves it, if somebody does a survey, I guess, as to where the property line is, or you just approve it and say, good enough.
We know, because Hammond, when they put the fence, all the work that Hammond did, so we know.
Yeah, they would know.
That line is in, we know where that is.
Oh, okay.
I just don't know exactly where it is off
I
the
could
top
ask
of my
them.
head, so I can't, I know
Go
we
and
have that
ask.
in the office. But I believe there's space up in there, so we were.
And there's
planting
enough room.
Flowers up there.
Right now, it's asphalted.
Yeah, they put some stuff in there.
And that would be fine. I mean, it's just, and please understand that this is a not to scale sign. I had David Spino send this to me. I copied it and pasted it onto that picture. Just so you have an idea of where it would go.
right. What is the size going to be?
3 feet by 5 feet.
That's what I thought.
Or it can be whatever you all determine. I mean, my first step is getting your approval. Then I'll go to the food pantry board, get their approval, a design, and then go from there. But I can't get the food pantry's approval if I can't get your approval. I got to start somewhere. It would just get more eyeballs knowing that there's a food pantry and a sign there. We made it so that it would mirror the Fairfield signs, using the same material that the Fairfield sign is made out of at the four-way intersection. That's where we're at.
And if it does go on top of where the wall is, it could actually go over more to the right.
It can't be within, I just don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
Some things I'll get in trouble with. This I don't want to, because the edge of that barrier, that as you're looking at that sign to the right, at the end of the parking lot is 33 feet from there to the center of the road. So that's the right of way. It has to be out of the right of way unless we get it licensed by the state.
Right. So the interesting piece about this is that, of course, Lawrence Ave is a state road, right? So then there's their rules, then there's our rules.
Yeah.
So,
But according to the Department of Transportation, as long as it's out of the right of way, the only hoop I have to jump through is getting your approval of a sign. And if you want it, if if the property line is available and we can put it behind the retaining wall, that would be great. I'd love it there, and that would be my first choice.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't think that that would be part of the town's property, but I didn't think about Hammond having to do a survey to put their fencing up.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and 3x5 is like if we could tilt the door on its side, and that would take us down from the top of the door to the door handle for close to,
It's actually probably pretty close to the size of that television.
yeah, yeah,
Pretty close.
yeah. That too.
I can't guarantee you that it would not get damaged,
Well,
right? Not
Nobody
from snow removal, not from vandals, not from
course.
anything, even though it's in that location. I do want to express one concern that I have, though, is that we will start, which is not necessarily a concern, but I want to ensure that it doesn't create additional confusion with folks coming to the town office the other 28 days of the month, not realizing that you're not there. I think once folks understand with the open sign, or maybe if there was even something in there in which, in smaller print, you could state which dates you are open, even that if that is a sign that gets bracketed to the sign in case the hours ever change, because
Right.
you don't want to have to remove the whole sign, that might help folks understand that, because while the food pantry folks are great, anytime anybody needs those services, we definitely get them in touch with them and they make those arrangements. But I could see it also creating some confusion. So I'm.
Well, the open sign would only be there when it was open.
So that's why I'm saying on the sign that stays stationary, like maybe in one of those corners, there's just a piece that says the days that they're typally open.
Or closed.
You know, or closed.
Right.
It's open or closed.
Or closed.
So-
It's something, but, yeah.
Make it part of the big sign so people know.
Well, we're hoping, and I haven't gotten approval for this, but I'm really hoping that we do evening hours to help the working poor, because we're open 9 to noon, actually 8 to noon, but that doesn't help people that are working that need help. So to do evening hours, and it would still be on the first and the third Thursday of the month, that's in the works. I'm working on that so that we can help more people. So, just the days would be fine, but I'm hesitant, because the days wouldn't change, whether it's evening hours, it would still be the first and the third Thursday, because that's when the Good Shepherd delivers, for those days.
Do you have a WW address?
We have a website.
That is something that would be good to put on the big sign so they could check your times.
I think what we'll probably do is we have more, because we're having issues with the website, we have more available information and up-to-date information on our Facebook page. And since it's blue and white already, we could just put like us on Facebook and do the little Facebook emblem.
Yep.
Because if we drive people to that, like I said, that is the most up-to-date.
Yeah.
I'm one of the managers for that.
They do have an up-to-date pamphlet in which we have
Yes.
a bunch of those that have been dropped off the town office. We have them right in the lobby,
Yep.
and we ought to put some down here as well.
I have plenty if you want
Yeah.
some.
Yep, we should put some down here in our brochure thing.
That'd be fine.
And I'm looking forward to the updated one that includes the essentials piece.
For the food or the flyer?
Yeah, that includes the non.
I think it's in there. There's a picture of
we
it.
did
There's
get
a
that
picture
added?
in there, but.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
I'll check.
Make sure we get that everywhere we can.
So is there anything else that I need to do to convince you all that this is a great idea for the town of Fairfield and that you would love it and
I appreciate your hard work, and I think it's needed. The confusion piece that Michelle brought up is important. So if you could put something down there so people can access on their phones maybe, and get the times,
yeah,
that'd be nice.
be cool if we had a QR code. I just don't know how to do that.
You can, you can download generators all the time.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So would the council like this on as an action item for your next meeting?
I'm good with that.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
To be
you.
continued, but next meeting.
Okay. Moving to number 2, discuss sewer enterprise budget for year 22 to 23.
I should have brought my glasses. I'm going to play an accordion on.
You got glasses there, Michelle, on your...
No,
Oh,
no,
different-
different
oh.
ones. Different ones.
I did have a question, John.
Yes.
On line number 15, tech equipment maintenance. In 2021, there was that $12,307. Was that for the camera? Sewer camera?
I believe that was probably for a pump station.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
So what happens is while we budget this number, it'll get charged to there. If a pump station could be charged to the operating budget, or it could be charged to capital reserve. So of course, with your capital reserves, you want to generate a reserve account, right? So we will charge off to this, and then if at the end of the year, it looks as though the budget's going to go over, we will then in turn charge those amounts to the capital reserve account, if need be. But I believe that that's what that is.
Yeah, because the numbers that are there, they waver considerably.
Yeah, they do, because of what breaks and what doesn't break.
Okay,
And I don't have the details for that budget with me, anyway.
okay.
Line number 22, why do we have 105,000 in bond payment interest?
That's a good question. Let me pull it up.
It was supposed to be 15.
I think it's supposed to be 15.
That would make more
Because-
sense.
Right, because there's a savings of
I think it's a typo.
$2,702.
Yeah.
It's just a typo.
Yeah, I think it's just a typo. But you wait just a minute, I'm going to tell you. Sure. I've looked at this budget 100 ways to Sundays, and I didn't even see it, so. Oh, come on. All right. Debt service. Here we go. Yeah, it's a typo. Should be. Yep, the number should be 18,329.61. There's a
Yeah, that's on 2021.
completely.
Yeah, yes, that was 2021.
Okay, let's try. No, that is exactly what it says, 105,624.73. So I'll follow up to that question before you vote on this budget.
Okay,
Good idea.
yep.
And what I don't think it's a balloon payment, because we have a bond payment that we're getting ready to get rid of. And I don't know as if maybe, but we should have budgeted accordingly, which the budget for that line was only the 16,108, so I'll follow up on that. I think I asked that question. Okay. The new budget doesn't have anything really substantial in it for changes, other than a change to the amount for KSTD, and that's due to that new LD, which I did provide you the information on.
Yeah.
Because as of right now, the sludge at the waste treatment plant is disposed of at Casella's landfill in Old Town. However, and I believe at minimal fee, because of this change in the law, which no longer allows any land application of sludge, that has caused a capacity issue at the landfills and therefore will be driving up the cost. I have spoken with Nick, who is the director at KSTD. They believe this year's budget, which their budget runs April through March, that they will cover the cost within their budget this year. However, it'll be next year that will hit us, which means it'll be our final payment in this budget, July to June budget cycle, which is why I've added the additional $20,000 above what our appropriation is in anticipation for what that bill may be, because that will hit us before we go to our new budget. Other than that, it's the standard wages with the 5%, standard, benefits, all of those other pieces. Revenue generation looks good. So as of right now, the budget is in balance. So I do not anticipate a need, even with that additional $20,000, for a hike in the rate. Our sewer rate is doing well at the moment. Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Action item next
Okay.
agenda?
And we move on to the
Got it.
discuss Crossroads TV budget 22-23.
This one, there was a bit of, the station director and I have been having conversations regarding our franchise fees. If you notice, there was a pretty considerable drop from what we received last year, which was $90,418, to this year, which was $83,593. I did reach out to Spectrum to find out why there was such a drop, considering the fact the amount was even less than what we received in 18-19, and asked them to double check on this. So they did respond that the primary reason is Fairfield lost a total of 134 subscribers, which was 10%, between January 2020 and December 2021. The second reason is that ad sales revenues declined by about 45% year over year, which I'm told is most likely due to the large amount of political advertising for the 2020 elections. Let me know if you have any questions. So it appears, and almost, by the way this is written, is that the election season in 2020 got people to drop cable. So, and of course, we only receive franchise fees based upon the number of users that are in town. It shows up on everybody's bill. It's 5% of the cost. And what happens to our revenue stream for the station should more and more people continue that trend and move away from cable and go to more online services. So the director and I have been, Chad and I have been having conversations about marketing the station for ad space, various different things. We have reached out to the chamber and asked for their assistance in that area. So that is something that we will be working on throughout the course of the next year, is a good, solid marketing plan. And what's great is that, believe it or not, is that the station is actually at a point where that is something that we know that we need to do and put in place. It's not, we have moved beyond just the go record municipal meetings and various small local events. There's a lot of different events going on. We have part-time staff as well as full-time staff, plus we have staff that we have to pick up for events. We're always looking for camera operators, those sort of things. So it's still going quite well.
Is there a long-range plan for Crossroads TV written out? Especially for long and short-term goals?
So Crossroads TV is a PEG television station, which is public educational government station. And what those stations can do is actually set by law. So, yeah.
So even though we own it,
Right.
we don't.
We don't. Well, we're allowed to have it, okay? So we don't technically own Channel 7, 11, or 1301. We are allowed to have access to those. We don't actually own them.
So based on what the state or federal government says, have we taken time to take a look at what we can do for long and short-term goals?
Yes.
Is it written out?
I don't know as if it's completely written out, but it probably should be, and
Yes, it
it would
should
be
be.
helpful. But yeah, our short-term goals, I think we've been able to meet, which were simply to, enhance the reputation of the station within the community, be known as a dependable organization in which folks can get the word out, and be able to share with all of our member communities, what's going on at various different local levels. So we've done that, which I think Chad has done quite successfully, actually. So it's been quite good.
Yeah.
But long-term goals, what would that look like?
Right, because otherwise we're flying by the seat of our pants.
Well, yes and no, but yeah.
Well, nice to have something to strive.
Mostly just to continue to have the revenue to keep doing what we're doing, I think.
Yeah, which brings us back to franchise fees.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Then we'll move to number 4, discuss other council business.
Do we want to talk about the June 14th voting before we do other council business? Because Christine and Michelle wanted to share with us some of the concerns. I'd rather do that before we do other council business.
Same difference.
You typed yours all up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You're just wondering how many detailed notes you have to keep, right?
I was wondering if I should just sit back and listen or take notes, yeah.
Okay.
I'll sit back and listen.
So, we have received a multitude of questions regarding, a lot of it has been around process. And if you did not see the last couple of days in the Morning Sentinel, there have been various articles surrounding the voting process within the state of Maine. Shanna Bellows gave an interview for the Secretary of State about those regulations, and Christine's going to speak to you about that. All I wanted to bring up tonight is some of the questions that we received regarding the ballot article itself. One of the biggest questions that we have been asked is, what is a non-binding vote and what does that mean? That has been fairly consistent from not only members of the general public, but even members of staff. So a non-binding vote, by definition, means having no legal or binding force. So in essence, that is exactly what this article does. As it relates to the warrant article, it means that a yes vote is that you are in favor of the project's premise, but it does not mean that the town council or the town has to do anything. Okay, so that's where the whole non-binding, it doesn't force us to do anything with this. The article is only looking to see if the community supports the project as it has been defined. That was the reason why the word non-binding. A binding vote would have been something that was written such as, will the town vote to construct? Okay, so that was a definitive action that happened as a result of that article. So this non-binding piece means that there's no definitive action that needs to happen. Okay. The next one that we received some questions regarding was, if the lines are constructed, will connections still be required? And so this stemmed from your April 13th meeting. In my manager's report, and then further into the meeting, I had informed you that I met with the Kennebec Water District regarding mandatory connections and water usage requirements. I believe my report to you was not clear. Mandatory connections was a requirement of the Kennebec Water District for water quality and for revenue collection required to maintain the new system in the future. On April 6th, Dirigo Engineering and I met with the Kennebec Water District. At that meeting, the Kennebec Water District stated that water quality could be maintained by installing bleeder valves within the new lines. Water would be allowed to flow onto the ground to ensure that water was constantly flowing. This is what is currently done on their existing lines. However, even if folks did not adhere to mandatory connection, we did not go that route with mandatory connection, the fees per household were still required to be paid. Regardless whether you connect to them or not, they will still need to be paid either by the homeowner or through taxation. Okay, so could we go down a path that says you do not have to connect? We could do that because they can install bleeder valves so they ensure water quality. That could be done. Can we get out of the amount of money required to be sent to the water district based upon everybody connecting? No. Somebody somewhere will have to pay that. Okay? So, and if that still isn't clear, please feel free, if any of this still isn't clear, please feel free to contact us at the office, and we'll be more than happy to spend the time to explain this to people, because it is important that people understand exactly what's going on. Also, there has been another piece surrounding the statement of 157 people affected with contaminated wells at the meeting. So, it was reported by DEP back in March that they had 157 contaminated wells that were above the 20 parts per trillion that they had either installed or were working to install filtration systems in. That is out of the 370 that they have tested, so that's a 42% ratio in there that are above the 20 part per trillion. That is the piece that needs to be remembered, because it is not only 157 wells in our town that are contaminated. There are multiple homes in our town that test between 0 and 20. Okay, so, and if you test at 19.6, which there are some, or 18, or 13, or 14, or 9, or 5, you do not receive a filtration system from the state of Maine. So if you go on the DEP's website and you look at their map, and you click on the little green dots that says that everybody are fine, it will tell you how much their PFAS levels are, or it'll tell you ND if it's not detected. And typically you can pick a stretch, and because I've done it, where you pick a stretch of road and maybe 50% of the green dots are non-detectable, and usually it's more than that. So we do have folks on the map that are at 19.6 and 18.6 that do not receive a filtration system. So the project, as it is stated in the report, does cover 474 households and installs 20.61 miles of new pipe. Okay, so that's what the total piece is. The cost of estimates in the report are based on current 2022 pricing. Dirigo acquired the numbers from project bids that were received by the Kennebec Water District this spring. That does not mean, however, that they won't change in the future, and that by the time this project was constructed, it couldn't be more or less. The cost of installing pipe from the water main to the home, as well as the meter installation, have been included in the estimates. That was cleared up with also Mr. Kinney's email to you. In that a vote result of no in the community does nothing further on this issue does not mean that the state of Maine will continue to pay for these filtration systems forever. There is a large number of people who do believe that if this vote does not pass, the DEP will have no choice but to continue to fund these filtration systems, and that is just simply not true. And so we needed to make sure that that got clarified as well. So, and then the last piece that I had heard was that some folks felt like they weren't heard at the public hearing simply because of the fact that the majority of the folks there at that public hearing, the 116 people that were there, the council still carried forward with a vote on this subject and didn't just simply vote to do nothing then. And I wanted to remind folks that while, yes, the attendance at the public hearing was wonderful and outstanding, there were 116 people there, we have 4,500 registered voters in this town. So while the room was full, it did not represent our full municipality. So the council, in doing their due diligence by asking for this vote, gave an opportunity for every one of those 4,500 registered voters to be heard. So, and that is it for my end of things, unless anybody else has any questions.
Okay.
Left to you.
All right, so we've seen a lot of comments and questions have come in regarding the secure ballot drop box and the absentee process and how our ballots are handled. So I just would like to start with, the town does not divulge the various locations of security cameras for the very reason of security. The secure ballot drop box, it is monitored and administered in accordance with Title 21A 752-B. This was procured by a grant facilitated by the Secretary of State through an authorized vendor, and it was installed following the prescribed requirements for secure installation. Only the municipal clerk or an authorized deputy is eligible to handle or retrieve ballots, and they are all logged daily. So when I go out to the ballot box every morning, I have to note the time that I went out, that was me that went out there, and how many ballots, if any, that I retrieved. So I would just like to point out that we are keeping track of that, and that does actually match up with the reports. We have a central voter registration system, and everything is coded in that system, so those correspond with the reports that I have that we run through that system. So every ballot, it's coded for issuing it directly to the voter, written through the mail or electronic phone requests, and as they're received, it's either returned by mail, delivered by the voter to the ballot box. So there's various coding that happens, so we know what happens with each and every ballot. Every ballot is in real time bar-coded at the time of the request and date time stamped through the state's central voter registration system that only the clerk or an authorized deputy has access to. When absentees leave the building, the voter is required to complete the absentee application and sign for the request if it's in person. There are various other mechanisms, but when that ballot does come back, it is date time stamped and matched up and then attached to that envelope, and it does get recorded in real time in CVR so that we are tracking each and every single ballot. The ballots are coded in a manner that your barcode is specific to you, the individual voter. So you can't stuff the ballot box. I mean, somebody could, but it's never happened here in Maine. And if we receive materials that weren't attached to the barcode that I issued the ballots to that voter and in the envelope that we provided, it's not going to be counted in our election. So I want to just assure folks that there is a heavy set of checks and balances. We audit and batch these up so that we're making sure that everything was recorded correctly. And these are stored in batches in a secure lock vault location. They're never out of the presence of the clerk or an authorized deputy or an authorized poll worker. So the ballots are always under lock and key. We just don't leave them out. People can't arbitrarily come in and grab a batch and then start stuffing the ballot box. It's just not possible. Every ballot is connected to a bar-coded envelope, and it cannot be cast without that and the voter's signature. So I just want to reassure folks that this is a very secure process. The box is secure. It was installed properly. It would take a really big piece of equipment to get that thing out of the ground, just letting you know, excavator type of thing. So the chances that somebody's going to drive up with an excavator and take my drop box is pretty slim. I do want to reassure folks, we did install very secure, authorized piece of equipment. The total, so if the municipality orders and receives 100 ballots and I issue 10 ballots, that means I've got 90 ballots left. So the processing of ballots, whether absentee or election day, at the end of the day, the math proves the total. So a lot of folks don't understand that we just don't have ballots that are being reproduced. We have a finite number. These ballots have very specific coding to those tabulators. Every election is coded individually, and these machines are not connected to the internet. They are 100% standalone, coded thumb drives. They're very expensive drives. They're not your average thumb drive. They're coded by the manufacturer in Nebraska. And then we test these ballots, improve the math prior to every election. So it's also had, the totals have also been proven with the most recent recount that we had. These machines are just incredible at what they do. They do their job. They scan every ballot. They know what to look for, what not to look for. They know what gets kicked out as far as an overvoted ballot and such. And it affords the opportunity for the voter to request a second ballot if they are in person and they've made a mistake. The machine will actually say, this is an overvoted ballot, do you want to proceed or contact the warden? So there is an opportunity for the people in voting in person. So I just want to let folks know we have a very secure system, and I just check my notes real quick, make sure I've covered everything. Anything you can think of? No?
No, just that, you know, the voting process in a municipality is one of the most important things that we do, and it is not taken lightly by our staff or the poll workers that we hire on election day or any of that. And while in light of recent years and information, whether it be on social media or in the news, it is understandable that folks would question a process. So we encourage folks to ask us questions. We encourage them to double check if you're not sure and you're concerned about the safety and integrity of your ballot. Simply do contact us. We will help to ensure you that it is a process in which you can trust and believe in us to ensure that your vote is protected. Our staff take it very, very seriously, and we want folks to understand that. It's not hackable. It's not, you know, we're going to know if somebody showed up and put in 100 extra ballots for yes or no or that kind of stuff. There are too many checks and balances and too many people involved for it not to be verified over and over and over again. So again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Not even for this election, but the November election as well, because this topic has come up a lot in the last 2 weeks, and we have an idea it's going to continue to come up,
Yeah.
which is why we discussed about making sure we provided this information tonight. So definitely.
Okay.
And last but not least, I did want to just show for the camera, so every ballot that goes out of the building for absentee voting has an outer envelope with the address and a label for the voter, and then an inner envelope, and this is where the barcode goes, and then the instructions are included. So the voter, when they return the ballots, the instructions are there. They have to receive and cast all the ballots that they're eligible for. They can partially vote a ballot, fully vote a ballot, or cast entirely blank ballots. But because we are checking these counts and for our computations to be correct, to absentee vote, you do have to receive and return all of the ballots that a voter is eligible for. In this instance, it's a primary election, so if you're not enrolled in a party, you will only get the municipal ballot. If you're enrolled in a party, you will get the party's ballot in addition to the municipal ballot. The ballots are two-sided, and I would just remind folks, you make sure that you sign, otherwise it's considered invalid, and then I have to try to call or email the voter with the contact information they've provided on the corresponding application that requires the contact information. So there's quite a bit of provisions in place to ensure and preserve the integrity of the election, for which you know I do take very, very seriously. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you.
So I would say two things, or a few things, actually. One is, I think that the process is very secure, and I know firsthand, working with Christine, how seriously she takes it. The other part of that is that I firmly believe that the absentee ballot process allows more involvement, and the more involvement that we can have in the process of government is better. And the last thing would be, what is the last date for the absentee ballot request?
Yes, so June 9th is the cutoff.
Thank you.
It's always the Thursday, the end of business, the Thursday prior to the election, if
Tuesday.
the election's on a Tuesday.
And Michelle, thank you for your answers. Are those going to be posted anywhere so that people can have access? So those were very well stated.
We absolutely can do that.
That'd be great. if you could, at the town side, I think you answered them very concisely and clearly, so I appreciate that.
And I agree with that. It should go on our website.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Then we'll move on with other council business. And we've already had one, so we'll move on to the next guy with the yellow shirt.
A couple of quick questions. Where are we at with the training facility? I haven't been over on that side of town for a while.
It's moving along quite well. We're waiting on concrete. The concrete provider, the second floor needs to be poured, and their concrete vendor is having some delays. But most all of the shell, I think, the structure itself is up. I think most all of the siding is on, other than what they still need to access stuff, but it's going quite well. Yep.
Very good.
I wasn't there. I was going to swing by today, and I didn't have a chance to go down, but last
Yeah.
time I saw it, it was going
Yeah,
good.
it seems to be coming well. I was down there last week for a baseball game, and it's looking good.
Great photos on Facebook.
Mr. Cooper?
All set, sir.
All
Oh, he
set?
wasn't done. He said he had a couple things. Mike said he had a couple things.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That'll do it for now.
Okay. Stephanie?
Yes, and you know that at our last meeting, Tammy Munier came in and she was concerned about what's been happening in the parks, and it was brought up about the neighborhood watch, and I'm not real satisfied with the 6-month wait to get something done. So I was very
Right.
pleased to hear in Michelle's report that there is some efforts being made for our young people so that they will have something to do.
Yeah.
So I went online and I came across the National Neighborhood Watch site, nnw.com, and it says how to start a neighborhood watch group in 5 easy steps. 1, recruit and organize as many neighbors as possible. 2, contact your local law enforcement agency and schedule a meeting. 3, discuss community concerns and develop an action plan. 4, create a communication plan. 5, take action, hold meetings and events. And I've talked with the town manager this week, and the police department did have some neighborhood watch signs, and I believe the chief is looking to see if we still have those. But I think that would be a good start.
Yep, I
Put some
agree.
signage up. And I also wanted to come to the council to see if there's anything that the Economic and Community Development Committee can do on this issue, if there's something you'd like us to do. So, but I think that doing neighborhood watches, no matter what part of town you live in, is of value.
Yep.
And it lets people coming through the town know that people care. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to clarify, we had some neighborhood watch signs because there was a confirmed community that was forming a neighborhood watch. So it's not like people want to create a neighborhood watch, so we just go put up signs. So if there is an organization that wants to do a neighborhood watch and do that amongst their neighbors, it is very important that they start with the police chief. And I also recently just requested the similar kind of information from the chief, because I think that we're going to start getting that request more, so that we can actually get that posted to our website and make that available to folks as to how that goes about happening and what those requirements are.
And when you say organization, you're talking about a group of citizens?
Yes, a group of citizens in a particular neighborhood. I believe it was 3 or 4 different streets had come to the police department and started that process of creating a neighborhood watch group, and there were to be signs to go in that location, because we don't just arbitrarily put up neighborhood
Right.
signs, because most of the time your neighbors probably are watching you, but we don't put signs up about it.
So, okay, that's it.
All right, very good. I guess then we will move on to the next regular meeting of the Fairfield Town Council will be on Wednesday, June 8th, 2022, to be held as a hybrid meeting via Zoom in council chambers at 6:30 p.m. I will now call for recess, and we will recess and sign all documents that require the signature of council members.
Motion to recess.
Second.
We're recessed.